When I'm outside trying to test a lens or something for a video, I tried to take some photos potentially to be used for a thumbnail. And they're pretty easy. I generally have like 2 tripods, 2 cameras, so I can just hold the camera I'm doing the video with, just take some photos and press the shutter with my hand, but of course I could use a 2-second timer. With the Canon cameras, the app is pretty nice, it's pretty convenient, gives you some distance, it has all full control with photos. But so with the 56mm lens, that's what I did to take that original photo for the background of the thumbnail. And sometimes I just stop right there, it's good enough, but in this case I wanted to have the actual lens in the photo. I decided to take a picture of the lens itself instead of pulling like a stock photo from the company website. I have a small area that I do B-roll filming with. It works decently well. I have some lights set up that I can just turn on pretty quick. Here's the area where I do the B-roll filming and where I'm going to set up for taking the photo of the 56mm lens for the thumbnail. Just got the cardstock. Nice thick paper. Here's a full setup. I bumped up the light power a lot. You got this one here, the Boling one up top, and then the side one here, so that the shadows are as minimal as possible. Still see some shadow from this one. We've got the M5 here with the 50 f1.8 EF lens adapted just fine, f8, and you can lower your shutter speeds. It's on a tripod using a 2-second timer. So easy enough. That way, with the small aperture, the sides should still have some definition to them. If you don't do that, it'll be harder to edit. You can see if you were to use a wider angle lens, it would be very different looking and still work, but it's up to what you're trying to achieve with the photo. Here are the resulting photos from that quick little photo session with the 56mm lens. You can see some of them I was just getting ready. So with it, when it's darker like that, you're gonna not get a great result, but in this case, I think this last one's going to be nice. So let's do a quick look at it. So you can see nice. I might have to straighten it a little bit. Go on the sides here. This is what I was talking about with the f8, or if you want to do a larger aperture like f1.4, it's going to be a lot smoother on the sides. You don't want that because it's just harder to make it look natural as a overlay in your actual thumbnail. Just gives it more detail. You pull the lens away from the background, it'll just work out better. So more of the lens itself is in focus. Especially at those closer distances, it makes a difference. So this one would be pretty easy to edit. I still use my old version of Photoshop, CS 5.1, so I still haven't transitioned to like AC/DC for the actual edits. Here's some of the photos that I took in anticipation to that 56mm video. I was trying to do different ideas, so I did some ultra wide angle stuff with those. So you get the box, camera and lens. I think that's decent, but I wanted something more in the field, so I did take these photos here. Let's look at these real quick. So I was trying to do it, and I got my hand to the side because I'm pressing the shutter button. The easiest way to do it. So I think I picked this one maybe. It's a little brighter. It looks like I actually edited that one. So this one was at f5.6 instead of f8, so you can see that there is a little less definition to the sides, which isn't great. One thing I've been doing with my YouTube thumbnails, I've been going back to old ones, been editing them, and actually use the YouTube unique identifier for all of the names of the actual thumbnails that I make. It's nice to find and associate with YouTube the actual image file. So it works out, and then I put like a V1, V2, V3. It's just a good way of going about it, I've found so far. So you have a lot of images here, and I had put them all in one folder. I back it up. It appears to be a good way to deal with all that stuff. You can see I've been editing a lot of thumbnails, and I've been putting an overlay that's just my personal preference. Here's the 56mm lens image file I use for YouTube. Let's open it up. Photoshop. So you have the background. I'm using the entire thumbnail itself. I have a descriptor. That's just personal preference, like I said. But you have the lens on the side. That's probably almost 100% on there. And then we have the overlay of the picture that I took. So with a longer lens, it's not super warped. That worked out nicely. So if we hide that, you can see it's not as exciting, not as interesting, doesn't really tell a person everything they might need to know to click that thumbnail. Put it on here, I think it helps out. So one thing I do with these a lot of the time is I put a white border, because if I don't do that, especially with overlays, it might look kind of weird. So you can see without the white border, there's some chromatic aberration type of look to it from the 50mm EF lens. And if we zoom in, see a little bit more. So it's like a green look to it. And it's just not perfect. So when we add the white border back in, it just cleans it up a little bit, makes it a little less noticeable. So I think it works out. I just have 62%, 92 pixels in this case. This is a 4K sized image. So I've been trying to do my thumbnails full sized in case in the future they are higher resolution. I'll have those available. Let me put that back on. It's not showing up. There we go. All right, here is the newer photo. Could do a quick edit. What you want to do here, of course, this applies to Photoshop specifically, so I'm going to go into too much detail on this, but layer from background, the right click on this so we can actually clear out the white area. And what I use here is this quick selection. I hold Alt down and right click so I can change the size of it. Do it up here as well. So we're just trying to take the stuff we don't want, delete. So if you do the proper job in the photo stage, it's quick like this. To go in, you can see it's not going to be perfect, but not too bad. And paste it in something like this. Resize it. And maybe adjust things, but you get the idea. You can see this one is actually a little bit cleaner on the sides because it's f8 instead of f5.6. So it's less green. Not too bad. Sometimes I do revise thumbnails as I go because I can tell in the YouTube statistics that it's not getting a good click-through rate. Now that can be the subject and other things, but sometimes the thumbnail is at fault. In the past I've written some books. In this case I think I really made some mistakes with the actual book covers and just a lot of things to think about with what you put forward to people, get them interested in it. It really makes a lot of difference.